Welcome to Believe in People Unplugged, created in collaboration with and in support of the Matthew Perry House. Hosted by Amy Goldberg and Caitlin Morrison, this is a space for real conversations with musicians and artists, exploring who they are beyond the work, what fuels their creativity, and why music plays such an important role in their well-being.
Welcome to Believe in People Unplugged, in collaboration with the Matthew Perry House, hosted by me, Amy Goldberg, and Caitlin Morrison. Today's guest is Jason Cone McCaslin, the driving force on bass for one of the most iconic punk rock bands, Sum 41. From world tours and chart-topping records to life on and off the stage, we're driving into the stories, the music, and the mindset that helped define a generation. Welcome to Believe in People Unplugged. That's so cool.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. I want to ask you, how'd you get a...
My friends were starting a band when we were like 13, 14, and they didn't have a bass player. And so, they were my best friends, and I was like, well, I want to be in the band. And they're like, well, if you want to be in the band, you have to play the bass. And I was like, well, what the hell's the bass? And because, this was like 1994, so the internet wasn't around. And so I had to go buy all these music magazines and research what a bass guitar was and beg my mom to take me up to the local shop to buy me a bass. And that's kind of how I started. And that was in a band years before I got into Sum 41.
Oh, wow. What band?
By the end of it, we were called a band called Second Opinion. It was kind of it was a grunge band because the grunge thing was so big at the time. Like alternative rock and grunge and Nirvana was huge, and Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr. And so we kind of sounded like radio grunge, stuff that was on the radio, but more in that alternative grunge sound.
You had a lot of flannel?
A lot of flannel, long blonde hair, cut like Kurt Cobain.
Picture now.
Yeah. Ripped jeans. Yeah.
Wow.
The bass is a very cool instrument.
It is a cool instrument.
Yeah.
It was, I thought it was going to be easier because I was like, oh, well, it's four strings. How hard could it be? But, and some people will say bass is easier than guitar. But for me, since I ever started playing, I loved it. And I could play guitar as well. I could play a little piano, but bass was my number one instrument. And that's kind of been the way since I was 13 years old. And I've loved it. And I still play bass pretty much every day, even when we're not on tour. So yeah, I do like it.
Wow. And did you like your first tour? What was that for you? What was the experience like?
So when I joined Sum 41, it was like early 1999, and they were kind of already doing mini little tours. So I believe the first big tour we ever did was in the US, and it was after we got signed. We got signed in late 1999 to Island Def Jam to a major label deal. And from then on, they kind of just shoved us out on the road, 18, 19-year-olds, go.
Wow.
And so we were still living with our parents. And we would rent a van or get a van somehow and go on these long tours across the U.S., mostly the U.S. And the first tour we were opening for a band called Face to Face, and it was about 2 months long. And it was wild just because we were so young. We weren't even legal to drink in the U.S. That's how young we were. And we just let loose across America with us four in the band. Plus we had a tour manager who was also kind of our driver. And that was it. It was, as you could imagine, putting 18, 19-year-olds across the U.S., it was fun. And
did you get along, by the way? What was that like?
Did we get along? Oh, yeah. The thing about Sum 41 is we all went to high school together. We were friends before the band started. So when we all came into high school, we were all in separate bands. And we gravitated towards each other because we were all in different bands, and we all, oh, you play music, and that's how you kind of became friends. So when Sum 41 started, we were already best friends. And so yeah, we really got along. We got along too good. We were yeah, we were up to no good most of the time, as you can imagine.
Oh, that's
I think I went to one of those shows, by the way.
Oh, really?
And in Orange County, California. Might have been a year or two later. I can't remember.
What city?
I don't know. Anaheim, maybe Newport. I can't remember. It was a
Okay.
long time ago.
Yeah. We used to play California a lot because being from Toronto, the record labels wanted us to get into that California scene because our music sounded like California punk. So
Yeah.
they said, you got to start playing a lot of California shows and get into that scene. And so we were in California a lot, like Pomona and LA and San Diego, San Francisco, Bakersfield, all the
You
hot
were
spots.
Yeah, for sure, right?
you were big time in California, like
Yeah.
big time. It
People
was
thought we
it
were
was
from California.
yes, they did. Yes, they
Yeah.
did. And they took ownership of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It
it
was,
was fun for me to correct them as the little Canadian living there.
we were from a very small town in Canada, and people couldn't believe that we were from Ajax, Ontario.
That's right. That's right. And so, and Cole, I mean, you've been in the industry a really long time. What is glaring now for you, like in the music industry and how it's, changed so dramatically? Like, what's that one thing?
I think, obviously, I think social media, because, when we started, there was none of that. So what we used to do is we would make videos that people make now, like on their iPhones. People film themselves and put little videos up on YouTube or their Instagram channel. We were doing all that with a camcorder, and we would make VHS tapes and hand them out at our shows. So it was a lot harder, a lot different, a lot more expensive to do the things that you could just do now for free. And in 2 minutes you can have a video up on YouTube. Back then it was a lot harder. So just the fact of the self promotion being easier with social media, just being able to promote anything at any time is would have been like a dream back then because really we had when we got signed, the label had this thing called a street team. And so before you would go to a city, they would have all these kids that volunteered for the label and they'd go around the town, they'd hand out flyers to your show or they'd put them up on telephone poles and wrap them. And that's how you promoted your show around the city that you were going to go to. And now, you just throw it up on Instagram like, hey, we're coming to Washington, D.C. in a week. And it's so much easier than it used to be for us. But, and just adapting to that, like, not to sound too old, but like there's a thing that you have to adapt to as like you come from a 90s band into the 2000s and then
Right.
everything changes and then you have to be like, oh, well, we have to start doing that. Like, I remember our band having discussions like, oh, we got to get an Instagram page. We got to get a Twitter page. And everyone's like, what the hell's Twitter? You know, what's...
Exactly.
And so you have to adapt to it as things go. And there's still things coming out now that we don't really know about. So yeah, that's the biggest thing I think is the social media aspect of being in a band.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. And can I ask you, how do you, sorry, Caitlin. I know that,
Mm.
but I wanted to ask you, how do you guys work as a band? Like, how do you like, first of all, how do you like working as a band? Like, what's your favorite sort of aspect of it?
Our band has always been, we like the live aspect. Like, we always said that we make albums to be able to play live. We take pride in recording songs and we take a lot of time doing that, but we really ultimately want to get out on the road and play in front of an audience. We've always been like that, even before we were signed. When we were teenagers, we were always looking for the next show. We were always trying to play wherever. We played basements, we played halls, we played people's backyards. That's why you get into a band, at least we did, is you want to play.
Yeah.
And then, it was exciting to be able to go into a studio and record real albums and good quality albums. But yeah, I think we were just always a live band. We love playing live right till the very end. We love playing live.
Wow.
You guys have been together for so long. It is it like, does it get harder to kind of, I don't know. It's like a shared experience thing that you've had, right? It's like a journey going on tour together and doing all the things. Have you had any moments where it's like I never want I can't deal with these people anymore? Like siblings, where you just
Yeah,
I can't.
yes.
Is this how you're feeling now, Caitlin? Like,
No, I
She's
mean,
the
my
such
sisters
part.
came for Christmas, but I'm not
And her
thinking
kids
about
are at
that at
home.
all. No
Yeah,
way, no way.
that Christmas break was long. I feel you. The Christmas break was long.
It was long. It was long.
Kids went back to school. I was like, yeah, it's time.
No
Mm-hmm,
kidding.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
I-
think obviously there was because we were such good friends, we were best friends, like I said before the band started. You're always going to go through those times of, the long tours. The long tours started to drag on some of the records, and then we would disperse and kind of not see each other for a couple of weeks or whatever. And then the thing was, we all lived in the same city and we all lived kind of close to each other. So we still did hang out when we were off the road, which was might be strange for some people to hear because you'd think that we would disperse and be like, "I'm not talking to you for 6 months," but it wasn't really like that. But yeah, there became times through, I would say, the later 2000s when our relationships in the band started to falter, and I think it was really substance induced because substances, alcohol, drugs were a big part of our band, especially in the early days. And I think when you start to do that for a long period of time, your relationships start to tarnish a little bit because you're not thinking clearly. And a lot of your fights are substance induced. And you're waking up hungover, or you slept 2 hours. And that's when you start to kind of bicker and get into little fights and pointless fights, and that happened quite a bit in our band for a number of years. But as we came out of it, we realized that we all love to do what we do, and we all love each other, and we just were able to move on and discuss what we needed to discuss, and eventually, thankfully, the substances started to kind of come down a little as we got older, and some people needed help, and 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 then we were able to be a band and do what we love.
That's really great. And actually, it's, and so appropriate because, we're in collaboration with the Matthew Perry House, and Caitlin is Matthew's sister. And,
Yep.
I mean, we're talking about addiction or substance abuse. And, and for sure, as we get older, you can't handle it either, because your body, everything changes. But how do you guys, how do you handle that? Like, what do you help each other, or do you just sort of how do you get to that next level of, helping to wean off that?
The problem with our band is we were all into it. So we weren't able to at the time, and we got introduced to it so young. Like I think the first time I got high, I was 13, and it was
Right.
it was hash. But then the hard stuff came not far after. Like I was doing ecstasy at 17. I think I did my first line of coke at 18. Like
Yeah.
so, we were introduced to it very, very young, and obviously we were drinking by that point too, underage. But we were all kind of doing it. So as we started growing older, some people in the band stopped doing drugs. Some people drank more. Some people got into like weed, and I think the hardest part, one of the hardest things through our careers, our singer Derek, he collapsed from alcohol abuse and almost died, and it's well documented in his book that came out last year. But yeah, that was the biggest hurdle for our band in a way of like none of us really knew how to handle that situation because we saw him becoming increasingly worse with alcohol, but we were also drinking too heavily at the time. At least Steve and I were. And so when the band took a little break and we didn't really speak for a while, you'd hear things about Derek and how he was doing, and that was the point of like we actually were in like this situation where we didn't really speak for a little bit. I don't think I spoke to Derek for about a year and a half during that point. But so you look back on those times and you think, I probably could have handled things differently. We all could have handled things differently. I definitely regret, I just, there was no playbook for any of us because we were in this band. We'd been in this band for a long time. And now this major thing was happening where, oh my God, one of my best friends and bandmates is a real alcoholic. I don't know how to deal with it. So you deal with it the way your instincts tell you to. And sure, like I say, I could have handled it differently. I also think I handled some of it properly. We tried to get him off the road a number of times, but also I probably could have supported him more. Um, and it was I'd never gone through it before. None of us had gone through that situation before. So it was really, really difficult. And yeah, luckily he made it through. We started speaking again, and that's kind of when the band was done for about 2 years from 2013 to 2015, and we started speaking again in 2015 and got the band back together and moved on. And he became sober, and he's been sober since, and he's been able to
Great.
live a really great life since being sober.
It's awesome.
That is awesome. Is there a like so when you're a performance band, like um there's a certain amount of anxiety in performance for most people. And having been around it and around, the more of the theatrical side, but knowing that a lot of times, the drugs and booze and stuff like that, they help with that anxiety piece. Do you have to kind of as you're getting a little bit older, stepping away from that stuff, do you have to like relearn how to give a show? Like, do you have to relearn the kind of performance aspect of what you do?
Yeah, there's definitely a psychological thing that happens with that because um, a large part of our career, we drank quite a bit before we went on stage. Especially, when Derek became sober, he was not drinking anymore. So he had to learn to be a front man and a singer without having any substance in his body, which was, I'm sure, a huge learning curve for him. But for all of us, like, I would take 3 or 4 shots of tequila or whatever it was before I went on stage. But as I got older and into my 40s, I might have one glass of wine or something before I go on, and I don't drink on stage at all. Like I just have a little bit before I go on stage, just to calm my nerves, and then I drink water on stage. That was a lot different than our early days of having like multiple drinks on stage, multiple drinks before you get on stage. And so it is a psychological thing. You have to, I think what it is like your mind tells you, I can't go on stage unless I'm like pretty drunk and I'll have a better show and I'll play better and I'll be able to be this other person that I'm not because you're a performer. But once you get past that and you're just like, just go out and play. And the audience doesn't care. Like they probably prefer if you're not wasted because, you're not screwing up, you're singing the right words. Um, there's a
Yeah.
whole lot there's a whole other side to it, right? You have to think about the audience. Like to go on the stage sloppy and just screwing up everywhere is not that cool. It maybe was cool when you were young and it was raw and it was raw emotion and all this. But like when you start playing in front of a lot of people and as our band got more popular, you realize no, we have a real
Mm.
job to do. We have to get out there and we have to people are paying to come see us. People have gotten babysitters for their kids because we have older fans, and they've planned their night around coming to see Sum 41 play. We have an obligation to put on a good show. We can't go out there hammered and wasted and slobbering and not remembering the words. Like so, you have a real obligation to put on a good show for these people that have paid a lot of money and put a lot of time into their plans to come see you.
Yeah, for sure. And I know we're almost coming to the end, but Cone, if how do you handle the lows? Like how do when you're a rock star, like how do not everything is like, yeah, woo, it's like you have your lows. And how do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, our career has been a roller coaster, so I think you learn from the last low. Like I've learned a lot from that situation with Derek. Um, Back in, this is now like 10 years ago. I think I think when it comes down to it, and you have like these little lows in your career, you always sit back and think about why if you start to hate something on the road, and Dave, actually, a guitar player, always his famous thing was like, well, you could be digging ditches or you could be doing blah, blah, blah. And you start to sit back and
No,
you're
no,
kind of
that's what his
like,
dad used to say.
yeah. But it is true because we are like, let me tell you, we are very lucky to have had a career this long in music
Yeah.
because a lot of bands don't get to do what we did. So I think when you start to hate something on the road or you're upset about this and that or your flight's delayed or I don't know, just little things that start to bug musicians, you have to sit back and think like, well, there's a chance that I couldn't have been here at all. And you have to appreciate what we've had. And I think that actually takes some time as a band because you have to go through some lows and you have to carve out a career for yourself. In the early days, you're just kind of like, it's like piss and vinegar. You just go in and you're young and you can get pissy at people and you can do whatever, you can do no wrong and blah, blah, blah. But as you get older, you do, as a band, I think you do appreciate it more. And at least we did. And yeah, you stop sweating the small things. And that takes time as a band, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Thanks
Yeah,
for that. Really
that's good.
appreciate it. I know, okay, I asked this of Royal because Royal was our first guest for this. Okay,
Yeah,
Conan, I'm
nice.
going to ask you. Okay, this is for Matthew Perry. Okay, what song do you think he would love out of all the repertoire, all the music that you guys play? What song do you think he'd dig the most?
Oh my, that is a tough question. Did he like, well, see, the thing about our band is we've done popular stuff and we've done heavy stuff, we've done slow stuff. Was he
What
more
do you
into
think?
like
Yeah,
heavy
good
music?
question.
Was he
Yeah,
more into heavy
Caitlin.
music or more mellow music?
No, he was like a weepy 14-year-old girl music kind of a guy.
Okay, well then I think he would love our song. He would probably like the song called "With Me," which was like kind of like our only love song. We
Dude,
had
you want to know the really funny thing about that? I'm pretty sure that was the only song he knew of yours. And
That's
you're right.
hilarious. Oh
And
my
you're
God.
right.
yeah,
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it's our only
yeah,
love song. So
yeah.
if he
No, he was a mopey music kind of a guy. He one of his stories is that his first favorite band was Barry Manilow,
No
and
way.
and
Oh my
he would
God. Mandy?
and my mo huh?
He cried
Yeah,
at Mandy.
and my mother outed him to his high school class for loving Barry Manilow the most, and he was like he never forgave her, never ever forgave her.
uh, oh, Barry's cool.
He
Come
is
Barry is
cool.
on.
cool.
He
Yeah.
is cool. Yeah.
Dinner
He is cool, but
music.
you don't want to be a 14-year-old dude like
Barry
saying
Manilow.
having your mom say, "Oh, you forgot your Barry Manilow album in my
Yeah.
car."
This
You
is
usually
true.
hear guys say Led Zeppelin. Like, you know what I mean? Like they have,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah, our the classic rock stuff for
yeah.
sure. But
Yeah,
Barry
you know what?
Manilow.
Barry's cool. I
Barry's
respect
I
that.
like
I
Barry.
respect that. Yeah.
It's cute though. That is cute.
Yeah.
yeah,
I can
yeah.
see. Yeah.
But you got the stuff that's good to dance to and party with. So
Yes.
that's awesome.
We are our band, our fans like to hurt each other during our shows.
I
So,
I'm not yeah.
so
In
Hey,
a
Cole,
great
thanks
way,
a
in a
lot,
way
man.
that
yeah,
they're
in a
like,
fun
let's
way.
celebrate these bruises tomorrow.
In a
Yeah.
fun way. Yeah, they like
Yeah,
the battle scars as they call
that's
them.
right.
Yeah.
Do you guys have it? Actually, I know. Okay, last question. Do you have a common tattoo? Any of you guys?
We
Like, do you
do
have?
actually. The first tattoo, what arm is it on? The first tattoo we all got when we were about 20 or 21 was the 41.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
So all four members and our manager went
The
to
same
a
arm,
tattoo
like
shop.
same arm, everything.
Same font, same arm, same spot.
Cool.
And now we all have multiple
Yeah, of course.
every but yeah, that was everyone's first tattoo ever. And yeah, we all have it.
Very cool.
My head went to a really weird place, by the way. We were like, oh, we all have the same arm, same tattoo. And I was like, well, it's a good thing you have new ones because if there were like a cold case and all you had was an arm.
That's true. Then they wouldn't know who it was.
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
way.
I don't know.
On that note,
I don't know why that happened. Anyway,
thanks,
sorry.
Cole.